Hey, how you doing? Mr. Bill here, and if you're watching this, you should go and listen to my single Apophenia right now. It's on Mousetrap, and you should listen to that before you watch this, because basically what I'm going to be doing here is breaking down that song, the title track off my new album, Apophenia, which comes out on December 14th, I believe, but the single's out today, so go listen to that, and then you can see how I made all the things. Alright, so jumping straight into it, the first thing that you hear in the song is this beat here. It sounds like this. So I personally think the most interesting part about this section is the snare. And the snare sounds like this. So you can hear how the snare has like all these tails and artifacts that like bend and divot and do all this weird sort of shit. Like especially in this next section here, starts to do all this kind of pitched weird stuff. It starts to sound all crazy. So if we open up the automation here, you can see that there's a bunch of automated ranges, automated parameters on Zebra 2, which is making this happen. So if I open up Zebra 2 here, I can show you how I made this. So pretty much Zebra 2 has like a bunch of modules on it, like filters and FM oscillators and all sorts of stuff. And it will only ever show you what modules you're using. So for instance, if I double click these to turn them off, you can see it removes them from the picture. We're not looking at them anymore. So the first thing here is a comb filter. What's actually like a comb oscillator, which sounds like that. Sounds kind of just like a weird piece of noise. And then there's a bit of noise actually layered on top of that with like quite a long release time. Then we have some FM. That's actually just an FM oscillator. It's FMing itself. And then we have a VCF, which stands for voltage controlled filter, but it's obviously not voltage controlled, it's software, so it's just an emulated filter, I suppose. And that's just doing a bit of enveloped cutoff stuff. But really what's making this thing tick is the reverb on Zebra 2, which is just fucking crazy. So it has all these crazy controls like feedback and dampening and range and all sorts of stuff, and this diffuser section can kind of get crazy. And I'm just automating a bunch of stuff on this filter really to make it do all these crazy bends and stuff. And then I'm just EQing it really crazily on the device itself. And pretty much what I'm doing there is I'm boosting the fundamental, and then I'm boosting like 2-3K. So the fundamental is what's going to make it sound like heavy and thumpy, and then that third node there that's pushing the sort of 2 to 3K range, that's going to make it sound just clappy as hell. So after that, I just have a bunch of stuff happening here again, doing some crazy boosts in the fundamental. A little bit of compression, it looks like. Actually, the compressor's not even doing anything. And tiny bit of transient shaping, and then just EQ and all the regular things. So that was one of the cool things I thought about this project. The second section here has some pretty interesting stuff going on. It's like jazzier sort of stuff. So what I tried to do here is I tried to take basically the melody that the snare was playing. So this melody here, I guess it's like kind of a melody. And then I tried to kind of harmonize that with the bass and the chords here. So I just wrote a bunch of chords and ran them through, I believe, Alicia's keys. And then just layered a Rhodes here as well. So that was kind of fun. And then I guess at this point, like what happens a lot in my tracks when I'm writing them is I'll get to a point and I'll be like, it just all sounds kind of too vanilla, and there's like, it's just sort of meandering along and plodding along and not really doing anything interesting. So usually I'll just be like, fuck it, and just write a whole new section. So that's kind of what this was here. And I believe I originally wrote this section in a different project file, and then later on I brought it into this one and kind of like meshed them together to make something cool happen. So pretty much what this is me just messing around with my modular synth. So if I open this right up here and we just take a listen, you can hear it's just like a bunch of random lines that some random MIDI that I just created and ran through my modular, and then just tweak some knobs and shit like that. And this bottom one is the same. And then pretty much what I did, that sounds like it's just an octave higher, so it's pretty much the same. And then pretty much what I did is just a bunch of editing, like cutting it all up to make it play a riff together. And then I just put some kind of R&B clappy type thing under it. Sounds like this. And then together it kind of makes this funky sort of weird section out of these modular basses and that clap. So this sub here kind of just takes over the lower register, I guess, and kind of like packs up the harmony of what's going on in those modular basses a lot. And then that kind of just sounds like you're getting some progression in the tune as well when you have, some extra shit come in like that. All right, so then we have this feel change thing. I actually don't think this section is that interesting. I think it's just necessary to get to the next section. I do like these synths though. These they're called warp synths, so they're like based from, I guess, that sort of old school Warp record sound. So pretty much what's going on here is I'm just playing some chords that sound like this. But you can hear how that has like a slight pitch bend on it. And then if you check out this next one, it also has a slight pitch bend, but it's panned all the way to the left. And this next one, same deal. So they're all just like bent out of pitch just a tiny little bit from each other. And when you play them all together, it just becomes this like weird sort of haunted, dissonant kind of tone. Then we got the piano again, I think this time doing an arpeggiator thing. So this is pretty much like a build up to this next section, and this section actually has a few interesting things going on here. So the main interesting thing, let's just listen to it first. So the main interesting thing that's happening here, in my opinion, is what's going on with the chords and the bass. So again, I think I'm using Zebra 2 here, and then what Zebra 2 has is this multi-stage envelope generator, and it has a loop function on it. So what you can do is you can turn this loop function up and down, and it will play through this envelope faster and slower, and then this envelope is hooked into the cutoff. I think the cutoff. So it basically has that kind of psytrancey dow 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 like type of thing going on, but I'm just changing the speed of it. And then the way that I'm matching the bass to it, because that's on a separate channel, the bass is doing this. And that's kind of the same sort of idea. It's just an LFO, which is effectively just acting like an envelope on loop mode, or I guess on trigger and loop mode, attached to the cutoff here. And then the way that I'm matching the two, that's kind of the interesting thing. You can hear they're not actually perfectly matched. And I kind of like that because it makes everything just sound a little more crazy and fucked up. But the way that I'm trying to match them here is by using this Max device called Multimap, and I'm just mapping both loops to the same thing and then controlling them both from the same place and then setting the minimum and maximum ranges here. So you'll see if I change the range here on the LFO rate of Serum, which is this second thing on the Multimap, then they'll be completely out of time. It still sounds kind of cool, but what I did is I just basically tried to get it as close as possible just by using my ear, basically. And then down the bottom here is just a bunch of fills, all of which pretty much came from, I think, my Modular synth for the most part. Yeah, and there's just tons of like reverbs and all sorts of stuff happening on the tails here to just like kind of create depth and fill out this area. Yeah, and then pretty much just an outro. This break I actually recorded with a drummer in a studio. And then I just used this tiny little bit of it, so who gives a shit. But the full break sounds like this. It's actually a really nice recording. But yeah. So yeah, anyway, hope you enjoyed that and hope you learned something or found some of the process interesting. And I hope you enjoyed the album, and I hope you enjoy this track and go listen to it if you and if you like it. I don't know, leave a comment, tell me how much you like it. Or if you hate it, leave a comment, tell me how much of a fucking dick cheese I am. But yeah, anyway, have fun.